Okay. Tuesday, today we're doing the contact sheet and in-class discussion on exposure. Thursday, your take-home is going to be on exposure. We'll discuss that before you leave. And exposure is the place on your camera that has a plus and minus button. The icon on your camera for plus and minus, we'll be using that. So how everybody's doing on your pictures? Getting it there? Or? Now, if you didn't bring your pictures or you don't have them with you, let's do this. Have your neighbor's pictures so you can practice this. Maybe look at them and say, hey, can I have your pictures? So you practice this. That would be great. Because remember, we're doing this together tonight. I'm going to have you submit it, but it's your first time, a lot of you, creating a contact sheet. So regardless of what pictures you have, it's fine. So you can do it together. Now, once you got them on your desktop, go ahead and click the Start button on your computer to make sure you guys have Picasa running on your computer. Start all programs, and then Picasa should be on your computer. You'll have to do Start all programs. Then you should look for Picasa. It might say Picasa 3, I believe. And if it says, just go ahead and let it run. It'll go through and scan your computer. It'll probably recognize those 30 images or so you put on your desktop automatically, and it'll put it by date. Yep. You might have to exit out of that web page if it launches that, maybe. Yeah, just hit the X on that web page.
Oh, they're there. I have a few more on this one because I ran out of disk space. So
I'll make sure everybody has that before we go on. Just close that. There you go. Good. And this is the software I was talking about to have you guys to download at home. Because the nice thing about it is once you install it and you put computer or pictures on your computer, it'll automatically begin to organize them as soon as they're placed on your computer. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this software besides making contact sheet. We'll kind of play around with it a little bit before we actually go to the contact sheet part to explain to you what this software does. It is free for Mac or PC, either one. So, you guys have this in front of you? Everybody have this running, or almost do? Okay. All right, so let's talk about what Picasa does first, and then we'll use it. Picasa is a file management or picture management software. You'll notice on mine, I'll have probably more images than you do, but you guys should have at least one of your images that has contact sheet it grabbed with the date. This was one from last year, September 13, 2011, and I'll use that as the example. But go ahead and click on your folder, the contact sheet folder, and let's go ahead and find any one of your pictures that are in here. I'll go to the contact sheet here and double click on the picture to bring it into full view like mine. Again, I'll do it again. Just open up double left click on any picture that you find in your contact sheet. Doesn't matter which one it is. I want to show you some things that this will do for you automatically. One of the things it does, you'll notice on the bottom left, is it gives you a histogram of that image. We've talked about that as far as what a good histogram is. Also, here on the bottom, it'll give you the dimension of that image, what size it is. And then if you click on the very right, this Show High Property Panels, it'll give you the quality of it. Now, this one's been converted and modified, but if you bring this in directly from your camera, you might have some camera information in there possibly that'll bring in. Anybody have that? What do you have on yours? What does it say on yours? It does have your exposure and everything on it? Cool. Yeah, let me see if I can find one on mine.
Oh, yeah, it says camera, picture.
Yeah, it'll show you all that.
Give you the time. Well.
Yeah, let me see if I can find one real quick. I don't know if I have any on this one. I think these have all been modified, but if it's not been modified at all, you'll have in there the actual dimension of the picture, like ISO, exposure, whatever, right? So that's kind of cool because you can see that immediately. Sometimes when you take a picture, you're like, oh great, what did I do that? How'd I take this? What settings did I have? Right there, you got it. And what's cool about it is once you figure out the settings, you can jot those settings down for further use when you take future pictures. And so that's a cool feature, is what I just showed you. Now also, when you double click on a picture, any picture, I'll go ahead and double click on picture again. You'll notice on the left side it brings up a whole bunch of different ways you can edit this, from cropping, straightening, red eye, I feel lucky. You can add text to it. We're going to use this one here. You guys have the edit and picnic option. Everybody have that? Okay, we're actually going to play with that one real quick right now because we're going to use that in just a second. But the edit and picnic option, if you click on that and then click, would you like to edit this copy of photo and picnic? Say yes. It's going to connect to picnic. It'll take a little bit to load. Okay, and then here we go. I'll wait, kind of raise your hand away and know where I'm at when it finally gets loaded up like mine on the overhead. Okay, great. Anybody else there? Just raise your hand real high that you're there. Still working on yours? Okay, you guys are there? Okay. Okay, I'm going to show you some really fun stuff to do on this one because we're going to do this in the contact sheet. If you go over to the Decorate tab, bless you. There's a Decorate tab, and then, yeah, I don't like that one. I think the one I want is the ones with stars. See if I can find it. Decorate. Maybe it isn't Decorate, I can't remember. Not face paint. I'll find it. There's a whole bunch of ones we can use, but I want the one that looks like a little star. If you guys find it for me, let me know. I'm looking for the one that has like a little star. Guess we could do heart, I guess, if we wanted to. It doesn't matter. You can do star, heart, whatever. I'm going to choose this hand-drawn hearts, okay? You can use whatever you want to. You can take this and drag it over to the image, and basically that's what we're going to use to select that image. Because for the lab, remember, we have the 30 pictures. You're going to select one out of each one of the sets, which will be 10 pictures. Okay, and you're going to put whatever image, whatever one of these little clip art things you want to put on there, you can put on there to say you selected it. Instead of a boring circle, we're going to do this. Basically, that's what I'm having you do it right now. Maybe it was face painting. I can't remember.
And we put the one we pick on our favorite picture, right?
Yeah, we'll do that together. But I just wanted to show you this. And they actually have more. They have more as well you can do on this one. Like this one here might be pretty cool. Throwing an eye on there. All right. So for mine, I'm going to go ahead and I think I like the hearts ones better. Now once you drag like a heart on here, you can color it to be something different. Like I can do like a whatever color, make it bigger. That way it's kind of highlighted, because this is just for your thumbnail. So you're not printing these out. It's just so you know that you've selected it. All right. Once you're through doing whatever to that image using this application, you just hit Save to Picasa, It'll say, are you sure you want to replace the original photo? You either can replace it or save a new. For this one here, I'm just going to do save a new. And you can do the same as well. That way you're not messing with that image while we play with it. It'll save a brand new one, and there we go. Okay? All right. Now let's do this. Go back to your library. Click back on the library link up here on the top left. If you look on the overhead, see where it says back to library? Click on that, and then I'll get everybody else going here. We're having you guys do the steps on the board here. Okay? Importing your 30 pictures onto a folder on your desktop and firing up Picasa. Okay?
So now what you want us to work on is picking our pictures. Right?
Well, I'm going to do it on the overhead for you, but I'm going to make sure everybody's there first. So give them just a second. That'd be great. And you can play with Picasa while we're waiting here at the tools available. Picnic actually has quite a few tools in there. I don't have you guys use all the tools in here anyway, but there's a lot of editing tools that are pretty cool that's in Picnic already. And filters and things like that that you can utilize. Again, all this that we're using tonight is totally free. It doesn't cost anything. And for most of the stuff you do in photography, it's more than enough. Most of you aren't going to be using the full effects of Photoshop. I don't use the full effects of Photoshop. I use this more than I use Photoshop because it's just much quicker to use. I have it on all my computers, and it's free to download. Yeah, exactly. And so now that Picnic one that we fired up here, it's actually an online product. Picnic is. Picnic is an online service that you can use even from any web browser to edit those photos. And so Picnic can be used on any of those. Okay, so what you do is just go ahead and hit the X.
Yeah.
Oh, are you downloading?
I was going to put it into a folder called Contact on my desktop.
Okay,
That's
all right.
the first thing.
Yep. Yeah, did you have it on a USB or did you have it
No,
on that?
it
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep, if that's all you have, that's fine. How you doing over here?
Good.
All right.
Important right now.
Okay, cool. Okay, while everybody else is finishing there, what I'm going to do is switch gears. Keep your Picasa where it's at. While you guys get caught up, I'm going to go ahead and go to the discussion. So we won't waste any time here. I'm going to go right to the discussion. And then we'll come back to the Picasa link in just a second, the lab in just a second, okay? Okay, let's talk about tips for exposure and lighting this week. You're going to be focusing on lighting, or you focus on lighting. We're going to do exposure this week with your camera. And basically, when it comes to exposure, let me blow this up a little bit to where you can see it. Two terms when it comes to exposure often comes out: exposure value and light value. And they're interchangeably used, however they are different. One is in front of the camera, the other is inside the camera. Light value is in front of the camera. A light value, or LV's measurement of the luminance of any scene that you're, or what we've used this semester, whatever setting you're in that you're taking a picture of. Whether it be outside next to a tree, a group of a family member in a room. The light value is what's in front of that camera, on the other side of the camera. And the luminance is the amount of light reflecting off of the subject. Okay? So if they're standing in front of a picture window and the light's behind them, the light's literally going to be from behind the subject. Okay? Not much light's going to be in front. So it's going to be a little darker. But whatever light is in front is what's called light value. And in contrast, illumination is the amount of light falling on the subject. So again, the window scenario, when you stand next to a window, if I stand this way, the light's going to hit my face this way. If I stand like this, it's going to hit my back and the light's coming this way. Say it's kind of sun's going down. Exposure value, the EV value on your camera, is the exposure setting on your camera for a particular combination of light value and ISO. light value, ISO, exposure value. Light values are linked to exposure by the way of the ISO setting on the camera. So here we have light values in front of the camera, exposure is inside the camera. If you look at your camera, most of your cameras will have a plus minus button, or it might actually be on the menu, and it'll look like that, okay? Or it might be square, plus minus. So if you want to look at your camera real quick, you can see a plus minus exposure button, or an EV button is what it's called, and that's what we're going to be using this week. And there's, by default, your cameras are set to a light value, an EV value of 0, okay? It's an EV value of 0. So basically, if it's at an EV value of 0, it's the same as your ISO at being at 100, which is your default value for ISO as well on most of your cameras. So EV is going to be 0 by default. ISO is going to be whatever the lowest value is. On most of yours, it's going to be 100. One of the possible exposure settings, like say an F1 stop, could be 100 as well. But basically, just focus on exposure value 0. At ISO 100, light value is 0. Meaning, what this is actually doing on your camera, if yours is set this way when you're taking a picture, is there is no light value the camera's pushing out for that photography, for that photo. Whatever the light value is in the room is the light value that's coming in at 0 for EV value, okay? Now your eye, and I've seen this before, and you'll see this too when you do this exercise this week, your eye will see like this room being pretty bright. You take it on a 0 value, an EV 0 value, and you'll see the picture in here could be a little darker than what your eye actually sees it being, okay? Because remember we talked about the first couple weeks how your eye fills in things that's not there sometimes. Light is one of those things that'll fill in. Have you ever walked into a dark room and it's pitch dark, and within moments you can actually start seeing some stuff? You can start seeing your way around the room. Maybe just a little light in a back closet or something comes in or whatever. Your eyes will adjust to the room immediately when it walks in pretty much. So sometimes your eyes aren't the greatest judge of light. So that's why the cameras have what's called the EV setting. Here is the ones we'll be using this week will basically be these right here. +1, 0, and -1, those three, okay? Most of your cameras will have more than that. We'll maybe go up to a plus whatever, +10 possibly, or a -6 or 8. Let's start with the 0. If you start with the 0 EV setting, the subject's medium tone, bright sunlight. Generally what that means is you've got good lighting. Okay, good lighting outside would be at dawn and at dusk is good lighting. Dusk would be like an hour and a half, hour before sunset. Middle of day is not good lighting. It's too bright. It'll wash out pictures a lot of times. Okay, and with bright, really bright settings, you can offset that with your ISO like you did last week, or you can also use an EV, the EV setting. Okay, and we're going to talk about the differences there. So if it's brighter, you're going to be more positive on the EV setting. So you might go to a +1 or +2, whitewashed or really bright outside. The darker it is outside, you'll notice you go more negative, okay? From slightly overcast, heavy overcast, really sunset, just minutes before sunset, okay? But by default, most of you have always probably taken pictures in the 0 EV range, okay, which is fine. But you're going to learn this week how the EV range helps exposure. I'm going to skip down to the determining exposure. So you find whatever light values on the chart, and we're, like I said, this week I'm going to have you focus only on these three. 0, +1, 0, -1. That's it. That's the only three. Kind of like this last week, I had you focus on 3 ISOs, 100, 200, 300. You're going to focus on 3 EV values for your camera and settings. And the settings, you take those pictures in. Well, you can use this chart for other things besides what we're doing this week. It's a real good, kind of, it's very bright outside. Very bright. I know I'm going to try maybe a +1 or +2 then for that setting. Or if it's an overcast, a -2. So it's a good reference to have. So you determine the light, locate the number of the EV value on the column chart, and then set that in your camera. So basically, an example is, let's say your photograph is an elephant in a bright sunlight. The elephant is in the bright sunlight and he's walking around. Your ISO camera is set to 200. And from the light chart above, you look at it and you see that it's very bright sunlight. And you go to the EV chart and it's going to be 0. Okay, you're not going to really add anything to it. Going to the f-stops on the camera, you've got basically here your exposure number values. But all I want you to focus on for this week is not the f-stops or the exposure number values. We're going to focus only this week on the EV only, the exposure values chart, because I don't want to go beyond that for you this week. So let me go down further here, because we're going to actually be in this realm here. Let me go back up here to this one. Okay, so I'm going to camp on this one right here. Go and get your cameras out real quick, and I want to see if you can find the 01 EV value on your cameras right now. Go ahead and do that. And I'll come around and see that you know where they're at. You guys have your cameras with you? Okay, go and get your camera out and see if you can find the EV value on your camera. We'll do this Picasa in just a second. You have yours with you? Okay. If you have it, go ahead and raise your hand so I can see it, that you know where it's at. Yep, that's it. Yep, perfect. Great. Yeah.
I know where my button is on the top.
Yeah, some of yours will actually be on the top, like his is.
When
Yep.
I push it, nothing happens.
What setting are you on?
The A, automatic.
Go into manual.
Oh.
No, what are you pushing?
This button.
Yeah, let me see your camera real quick.
Sure,
Is
go
it-
ahead.
Yep.
Push it and then scroll. Like with mine, I've got to hold the button down back here and then scroll the wheel and then it
Oh. Well, me and her have the same camera, so maybe,
Yeah, it should actually be. Oh, here it is. I finally got it. Yeah.
All right, good.
You basically,
Press the
I'm
button.
on A, by the way.
Okay.
Just press
That button.
that button
And then turn the wheel.
and then turn the wheel. And so I'll set it on, like, say.
Oh, I see. The little thing right here is leaving. Okay.
And also you see it up here in the middle.
Okay. Oh, because it's 2550. Okay.
Yeah. So you get it down to, say, 0, 0, 0.
Okay.
So that's what you want. And then you
Okay.
bump it up.
To 1.0.
We're going to do
okay.
-1, and we're going to do 0, +1.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
All right, so I'm just seeing if you guys know where your EV setting is on your camera. So just bring that up. Yep, that's it. And manipulate it. Yep, perfect. You're on 0, 0. Let's go to like 1. You can do it there, and then use your wheel. Push the button. Push that button and hold it, and then use your wheel to manipulate it. Now you started using your menu though first, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get out of your menu altogether. Just exit out. Now go ahead and push the button like I told you. Push and hold, and use the wheel. There we go. And yep, you're on 0, 0, and then you go plus or minus. Perfect. And you got yours, great. And you know where your EV is on yours? Okay, cool. Pull. Cool. All right, how are we doing up here?
Setting
I
for a
don't know where it
computer,
is.
for a camera.
All right, EV, right up here is the button.
Okay,
You press and hold it.
and I'll see it through the speaker.
Press and hold it, and then you use this wheel here
Okay.
to manipulate it. Nope, it's right down here. Right down there, see where it says 0, 0?
Okay.
And then you go to the right, it's going to be negative. Go to the left, it's going to be positive. Okay, let's see yours.
Mine keeps turning off.
Yeah.
I know where it is. I was.
Okay, you know where it's at on your camera then?
Yeah. Right.
That's all I need to know as long as, yep, exposure. Perfect. So everybody has their EV setting, right? So the deal is, it's really easy to use this week, and all we're going to focus on is a 0, which the way it's designed in your camera is this. 0 is normal, good lighting for the most part. So if it's good lighting outside, you have a 0, you don't manipulate anything, it is what it is. +1, if you remember from the chart, if I go positive, is it darker or lighter outside? You remember? In fact, I have it on the overhead. It's lighter. So the lighter it is, the lighter that the lightness is outside, okay, the more positive you want to go to basically back off on that lightness. So I'll just put here lighter is positive and negative is darker. So you start with 0 at all times, and then you work if it's lighter outside than you think it should be, just go bump it up 1, okay? If it's darker outside than it should be, go negative, okay? And I usually recommend 1 numeric value at a time. Most of your cameras will go incrementally by like millimeters. You want to do like 1 whole increment. So 0 +1 +2, not 0, 0.2 or 0.3. I say jump all the way to 1. Jump all the way to 1 on either side. And then if you go beyond that, keep incrementing it by 1. Does that make sense? Positive or negative. So again, to the right, lighter. To the left, darker. And darker would be adding in a more negative value. And lighter is adding in a more positive value for that EV. Okay? Exposure value. And so that's it. Pretty easy, right? And you're going to do three images for that. And we'll go over that right now while we're there we'll end with a contact lab tonight. So let's go to the actual take home. We'll do this. And I'm going to do it different this week too. Because some of your groups I talked to last Thursday, some of them asked, hey, can we meet on Tuesday and figure out where we're going to go and just not come to class on Thursday? I don't care. Fine by me. Because all I do on Thursday anyway is kind of recap what you're doing, make sure you understand it, and then you're out of here. So if your group decides I'm still going to be here either way on Thursday. So whoever shows up on Thursday, I'm going to go over the whole thing again, okay, to make sure you know what you're doing. But if your group decides tonight, hey, let's meet here on Thursday to do this, knock it out. Now last Thursday was kind of rainy, so most groups decided not to do it that night or do it some other night or do it on their own. Whatever your group decides to do is fine. But I do recommend before you leave every Tuesday, meet with your group, say what are we doing, where are we going, let's get a game plan here. Because you have that class time to take advantage of anyway for Thursday. So you might as well take advantage of it and take the pictures and get them done with. Because you can literally, most semester students get either all or a majority of their photos done in their group on Thursday night during the time frame that we're in the class. If you use that time wisely, you can meet in the right place and get it knocked out. Okay? Now that place can be here on campus, that place could be off campus. In the past, students have met at Walmart, they've met at the mall, they've met at Beefaroo, wherever it is you want to meet, doesn't matter, but you guys figure it out in your group what you want to do. I will be here either way on Thursday. And so I told 2 or 3 groups last week I would do that and just announce it tonight. That's what we're going to do. So if you decide as a group you want to meet somewhere and not come to class on Thursday, that's fine. If you want to come to class to kind of run over it one more time, that's fine too. It's up to your group to decide. Make sense? Okay. So for Thursday, what you're going to do is you're going to have only 5 settings this week. Last week, remember, you had 10 settings. Each one of these settings is going to be 3 exposures. -1, 0, +1, just like we went over on the board. You're going to name the photos, like we did last week, the name of the setting, which might be mall, might be, you know, student center, whatever. The exposure number, and then the .jpeg, which, by the way, I had some students ask me this last week, do you have to type in the .jpg? You normally don't, because when you bring in your pictures from your camera, it already comes in as a JPEG already. You're just naming to the left of the dot in JPEG. Make sense? You're renaming that. So most of your photos come in what, at numbers, right? Anyway, they come in as numbers anyway. So, so anyway, it'd be like mall 1, mall-1, mall 0, and mall +1. That's one set. Done. Okay? You'll create a photo album this time. Last week, remember, I told you to upload them, but you weren't graded last week on the photo album. You're actually graded last week on what you're doing tonight in just a second, which is the context sheet. And I've already saw the ones you guys uploaded last week, by the way. Looks really good that you did. I know a lot of you took more than 30 photos, which is great. So create a photo album on your set. Actually, for week 5 is what I want you to name it. So even though it says exposure here, I'd like you to have it as we've been doing it, which is week 5 instead of exposure. Exposure stuff will go up in there. And then you'll have your 15 photos in total instead of 30 like you had last week. Post URL below as always. Title your name and submit it. Questions on that, on the EV assignment? All right, great. Now let's switch gears to the Picasa one. I'm going to show you how to do it real quick. I want you guys to watch. We do have a step-by-step, which I'm not going to bore you and read it, but there is a step-by-step in the contact sheet folder. Steps for using Picasa to create a contact sheet. You can use that when you get home if you want to, but I'm going to kind of go through it just on the overhead. So I'm going to pretend this is you, and you've got your pictures on your desktop. You just got through doing all your photos. And I'm going to go to, let's see, contact sheet here. And what you can do is basically you can press the control key and select them. It's one way to select them. And while I'm holding the control key, I'm selecting these pictures. If I click on one again, it deselects it, you'll notice. And again, I'm just pressing and holding the control key on my computer while I'm selecting these. Okay, so I've got all my photos selected that I want. That's step 1. You have to select all the photos that you want. Step 2, you're going to go over here to the Create tab at the top, and it says Picture Collage. Once you select Picture Collage, you've got different settings to select from. The one we're going to choose is Contact Sheet. While we're here, though, let's talk about, you can actually do a picture pile, which looks like a whole bunch of scattered pictures. That one's kind of cool if you're posting this to a website, because you can create a picture pile and then post this to, it'll create what's called a GIF animated image from it, and then you can post that to your website for folks to see your pictures. Mosaic just lays things out mosaically on like a mosaic type of grid. And then grid is just blocks like the Brady Bunch. Contact sheet we're going to do in a second, just thumbnail. And then multiple exposure, actually, this one's cool. It'll actually take it and apply multiple exposures to each one of the images. Let me just show you that one. That's kind of sweet. It's actually doing the work right now still. I got to tell it what to go to. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to create it. And what this does is actually overlays the pictures one on top of the other in kind of a collage exposure type of thing, and each one of them is going to have different exposures. Which that one doesn't look too great. That one looks kind of ugly. Okay, I'm going to go back to my library, back where it was. You can also do a mouse select like I just did there. That's another way you can do it. So I'm going to go back to where I was and go back to the contact sheets one we're going to use. Right there is all the contact sheet. Now, you'll notice on mine I've only got 10 images on this one, on my selection that I've got here. And Once you select them all and you go to the create contact sheet, all you need to do then is just click create collage. And it's going to create this. It'll say contact sheet, 10 images, and the date that those images were brought in. Then from this point, you're going to click on the edit, like we did at first of the class, edit and picnic. Click yes. Here's where you're going to use whatever shape you guys want to use to select the images. Remember, for the assignment for tonight, you guys took 10 sets of images. Each set had 3 pictures. I want to select 1 picture per set, so you'll have 10 images selected for your contact sheet. And you can use whatever effect you want to use. I'll go ahead and go down here to the one I had earlier, which is, I believe, hearts. There we go, we'll do that one.
So all 30 of our pictures will be on the contact sheet with our little thing on
Yep,
it.
all of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and do real quick. I'll just do 3 of them, but you'll get the gist of it here. Once you have all of them, you probably want to make them a little bit smaller when I just made mine. But once you have all of them on there, you want to make sure, and after they've been placed on there, you can go off a little bit to the picture, might actually be better if they're dark like mine are. Just save to Picasa. It'll want to know if you warning, that warning signal, just do a save as new. Apply it. It'll process it, and then it should save that to Picasa, and then we're not done yet, almost. And then I'm going to let you do it, and I'll walk around and help you. So once it's finished, here's my finished contact sheet. I'm going to go to File, Save As. It'll save it as a JPEG. And you're going to put it to your desktop, save it to your desktop as first initial last name. And then if you look on the overhead, that's the file here that you'll upload to the contact sheet Dropbox in week 5. It says contact sheet. Okay, at the very bottom of contact sheet is where you'll submit title contact sheet. Click the attach button. I'll browse out to that image. There it is. And submit it. And make sure before you leave tonight